The Coffee Hour. Welcome to Coffee with our morning host. We broadcast a host of programs like current topics, newspaper headlines, and music on Radio Sri Lanka. Tune in every weekday from 7 to 8 a.m.
Well, we're going to commence the coffee hour with a guest who is not new to this place. We've got with us Gayani De Alwis, who is the past president of Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, and also the immediate past global Women in Logistics and Transport chairperson, and also the only fellow of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport and the Institute of Supply and Materials Management. And we are privileged to have you here with us this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Sharifa. Nice to be back here again.
And welcome to the coffee hour. So we don't have the coffee yet, but we can have some talking. And today the topic would be mostly on logistics, because you've been attached to this industry, this field, for a very long time, and you know a lot about logistics. And what I'm quite interested is, since both of us are women, there's also another topic which we could touch on about women in logistics too, but that will be something we can talk about later on the show. But initially, in a layman's point of view, could you explain what exactly logistics is?
Okay, thank you. I think this is something that is very useful to everybody, because we know during COVID we all were really affected, confined to our homes, didn't know how we're going to get our stuff. So logistics made that happen. So before I talk about logistics, I'll take a little step back and talk about supply chain, because that's the bigger picture. How do we get things to our doorstep? Is all that is behind that is a supply chain. So what does logistics do? Logistics move the supply chain. You transport things, you store things until it is used and moved. So that's what logistics does. So you need a bigger supply chain to manage things that we really need on a day-to-day basis. So behind every product, service or an event like this even today, there is a supply chain, and logistics power that supply chain.
Okay, so it's actually something what we look at from the outside when we look at logistics. It's just about transportation, and then that's what people have. That's the overview.
Yes.
But there's a lot happening in terms of logistics as well. So what are the different areas of logistics? If you can highlight that on the show, I think that'll be really important.
Yes. So tell me, we need many things to us, like on a day-to-day basis. So if we need something, somebody has to transport that into a store, right? Or maybe if you're getting it online, it has to be delivered to you. How does it come to so how do you produce it? Somebody has to order materials, plan it, the quantity that you need to produce, all that. So, ordering and all is called procurement, right? It may not be locally. Sometimes some other materials come from abroad. So you need to coordinate with your suppliers around the world and locally, and then you need to bring them by ship or air or by land transport, whatever the mode, depending on whether you're importing or locally sourcing the material. And you need to plan it. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So planning is an important, integral part of logistics. Once you plan everything, then the customer demands will drive the movement of goods, right? So nowadays, with technology being there, old way of managing things will not be okay, right?
Not the traditional
way. So we need to change with the changing times. So that's very important. Unfortunately, in our country, still we are kind of, still managing our supply chains and logistic in a very traditional way. We need to bring in technology. Technology will drive supply chain, and you have more visibility, when to produce, what to produce, where to deliver, how much quantity that we have, whether we have enough stocks available. All that will give customers some confidence. And also the companies who are producing that goods will have an idea that, so the visibility therefore is very important. Transparency.
That's transparency. That's the thing. So because then they know, because here it's all hidden.
Exactly.
It's all hidden, and then it's never like nowadays people Google everything.
Exactly.
So if you need to find out any method of logistics, if you need to get something down or get it delivered or something like that per se, so you Google. But when you Google, you don't find anything. It's about context. It's about trying to get to know each other. But what do you think is the solution for this?
So I think the companies must be bold enough to invest in technology. I'm not saying you need to invest hugely. There are simple things you can really look at. You need to connect, because most organizations work in their little silos. I mean, they really don't really communicate with each other. So information is the glue that binds a supply chain and logistics. So you need to make the information available for all stakeholders, because supply chains transcend beyond your own organization, beyond countries. We are living in an international supply chain environment. I mean, that's why we all got impacted during COVID. Now,
Exactly.
The whole world for almost 2.5 years, still we are experiencing that. So the disruptions are going to be business as usual now. It's going to be the norm. So we cannot continue the way we have been doing it. I mean, like Einstein said, if you continue the way you have been doing, and you cannot expect a different result, then you'll be insane. So I think we'll be insane if we continue the same thing and expect a different result. So as a country, we need to invest in technology. I mean, I'll give you a simple example. During COVID, in the port, I mean, all of us most of the people who are working in the port couldn't go to port because of various quarantine regulations. A certain group of people in shifts worked for a longer period of time, and then they took time off and they were sent, and another group came in. So how did the companies clear goods? We almost managed without any issue, of course we had ups and downs, but the challenge was we did things in the digital space. So we actually did online delivery orders, things were managing through online means. So all that was done. But unfortunately, post-COVID, we went back to the old way of doing it. Another important progressive thing that we did in this country is we have the oldest orthodox tea auction in this country. And 2 days of the week, everybody goes into the Chamber of Commerce. Army of people go and do the, auctioning of teas. But during COVID,
they did it online.
We did it online, and we are continuing that. So that's a good thing. 150 plus year old auction is now done in, online way. So that way you can actually be so efficient.
And you can attract more people.
Exactly. And also it gives a lot of flexibility. Certain group of people where you need to manage, especially for women. Because digitalization is a great equalizer for women, not only for women, men also. You can be flexible in the way you do things. One thing is it's going to make your supply chains more efficient. At the same time, it gives you more flexibility. It will give you more transparency and visibility. That way you will be able to understand vulnerable points in your entire logistics operation and supply chain. That way you will be proactively able to understand weak linkages in the chain. You can quickly react to the situation rather than, really get impacted when something happens. So I think it's a no-brainer. Digitalization is a way forward, at least in your own little way. You need to really digitalize your entire operations. Make sure that manual operations should be eliminated wherever possible. I think we need to start with baby steps, right? And that way we will be able to manage our logistics and supply chain and make our country very efficient. I mean, one simple classic example is the QR code in fuel. See how we overcame the problem. Right? It's actually a simple thing. Hoarding stopped, right?
Yes.
Queue stopped, all because of digitalization. Human intervention was minimized, almost minimized. Technology gave us a lot of,
solutions. Actually.
So I think this is one example we all benefited. I'm sure everybody will be convinced that that's the way forward. We need to do that. Yeah.
It's all about information and entertainment on Radio Sri Lanka. So today we are on the topic of logistics. So we are in conversation with Gayani De Alwis, who has been in this field for a very long time. So we've been talking about what exactly is logistics and about different areas of logistics. So can you also touch on the key competencies for logistic professionals?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I think people should know. I think logistics is the most happening place on earth, I feel, right? So every day is a new day.
It's
right?
moving.
It's moving and it's changing. There is never a dull moment. If you don't like action, don't get into logistics. I love it. Because every day is different. That means you will solve different problems. So if you want to be in logistics, you have to be really agile. You need to be somebody who likes to solve problems. You may not have answers all the time, but you should have critical thinking. You should not be bogged down to think in the same old way. You need to think outside the box. Sometimes you have to think inside the box as well, because with, very limited resources also you must decide what needs to be done, right? So you have to be a bit of both. And you need to also know what's happening around us. You need to have a global mindset, because you see what's happening in Ukraine, Russia has an impact on us. What happened in the Suez Canal? The ship got stuck, right? Remember? Ever given. And that had a huge impact in the whole world, because we live in an era of international supply chains dominate, and we are not an island anymore. We are dependent. 52% of our economy is powered by a service economy. So we wait till something comes to us. If a ship doesn't come, we are impacted. So we need to have a good understanding about the global situation, and we must also know geopolitics. The trade wars between US and China and other challenges. Chinese factories are going to be relocated into closer to home. Apple is moving into India, part of their operations. They're also trying to move to Vietnam. Unless you know who are the movers and shakers in the global arena, you'll be left behind. So you need to have an open mind. You need to be somebody with problem-solving mindset. You need to be an influencer. You need to be a very good relationship person. Unless you are good in managing relationships, you cannot be part of logistics, because you need to deal with many stakeholders, the transporters, the factory operators, the insurance companies, the shipping companies, the freight forwarders, whatnot. General public in a sense, because you need to understand the consumer's demand, market. Within the company, you have different functions with whom you need to deal with. You need to be kind of a jack of all trade. Yeah, may not be the master of none, but you should know your specialized area. But you need to have an appreciation of other functions. So I call that you need to have be like a T-shaped person. You need to have a specialization, but at the same time, in the peripheral functions with whom you're dealing with, you need to have business acumen, right? So you need to have an appreciation of marketing, finance,
an overview.
IT, so that you will be able to interact with those people and contribute, and you'll be a very holistic person. You know about the external environment. You know about the internal environment. You're a good relationship builder. You're a good team player. You can solve problems. You are a great influencer, and you are good at relationships. And it's almost everything that you need to have, but it's such a happening place. And if you're an action-packed person, that's the place to be in.
Logistics. So there's also corruption which comes into play. And I think the reason why sometimes we don't see a lot of information which has been shared to the public, maybe it's because of that. So how do we actually face this issue?
Yes, I think you hit on the nail. I think that's exactly why we need to digitalize, right? The more interaction that you have with human beings, that means this kind of illegal transactions can happen. So, it's so much easy to have everything on the digital space, so that you have transparency and visibility, and there is no need for somebody to go and interact and have any, transaction illegally, right? So most responsible organizations, are pushing for this in their organization. They have their code of ethics and practices, but unfortunately, the government sector also has to come into play. They need to support the digitalization agenda. With corruption, the cost of production will increase. The inflationary pressures and all of that, we will not be able to make products affordable, because all that gets added to the cost. So digitalization is the way forward if you want to do that. And we need to take action. We should not pay lip service. If we catch not the small fries alone. We need to look at the big fish as well. So we need to really clean the whole system. I know it's tough, but we must start. We must take baby steps, right? Our small actions can make a difference. Personally, for me, I don't pay anything to anybody, even to move my, waste, because we do everything recycle and everything at home. So we need to make sure we must lead by example. Before you point a finger at somebody else, you must remember there are 3 fingers pointing towards you, right? If we all make a commitment to ourselves that we will not do that, then this society will be a better place. I know it's a difficult task, but I think we can take that step. If at least today, if few people change their mind, I think I would have done justice to your coffee hour. Right?
Yes, I'm pretty sure about that, but because it's very difficult to change everyone's mindset, and
Exactly.
they're used to all these methods and probably generations to come. So, but now we see a growing trend among youngsters, where they also like to learn new trends, and they also like to do everything in the proper way, and most importantly, digitalization, which we've been talking about, and how important digitalization is. So how about getting the youngsters, getting all these new generation attracted to getting into the field of logistics?
Yes, because the new generation actually entered the world of work with this new environment in the Industry 4.0 environment, right? So they are quite tech savvy, right? And especially in organizations also, you have a mixed bag of things now. You have older generation, X and Y generation, and then you have Z generation. So you need to embrace technology. You must give opportunity for them, listen to them, and try to make your organization more conducive for such young talent to come in and contribute to the organization. So I would say the organization must create that ecosystem, so that more and more. So whenever somebody now tries to join an organization, they'll look at all these things, right? But good thing is, in universities, in school level now, okay, not across the board, but at least in the universities now, universities have department industry collaboration boards where they bring in industry and they have like once or twice a year, understand what are the industry requirements, and they share what they teach the kids. So then they have a constructive dialogue, and then they try to improve the curriculum and understand what can be done, and they give internship opportunities. So they have kind of cross-fertilization of ideas, the trends that are happening in the industry in whatever little way that Sri Lankan work landscape is changing. So that is something that we need to openly talk about and openly implement. So that is one thing that we can do. And also, I must say, the young generation also must not lose heart when a company doesn't have what they really want, because Sri Lanka is a small country and we also have limited resources. So you as an individual can play a huge role in changing the way we do things, right? So you need to really understand the organization culture, study the people, and have the ability to convince them on the way you need to move forward. So that is something that the new generation should learn. So I do a lot of mentoring through our Chartered Institute and Women in Logistics, and in my personal capacity, to make them understand how to face the new world of work while try to contribute. So that's also important, because we see, sadly, a lot of brain drain happening now, and Sri Lanka is moving towards aging population. So therefore, in time to come, we will have a huge problem. But I would look at it as an opportunity as well. Whoever is going to be staying back also will have to now up the game. They need to also, because we cannot stay in the same place. We need to make sure that we are contributing to the economy. And in that way, women have a huge role to play.
Exactly.
Women have a huge role to play, because we are 52% of the population, and we still have 34% of female labor force participation. But I don't agree with that number, because the other day I was listening to another speaker, and he was saying, from school level, the secondary, tertiary level, women are outnumbering women except in the STEM area. And then where are these women? Where are they going? And there are a lot of informal economy that we see. Out of the 75% of the SME population in the country, 25% are female, right? So women are I don't know whether they are getting picked up into the statistics, but we need to see more women, because with brain drain happening, we need to get everybody who can contribute to the economy as part of the economy.
Exactly.
Because our economy is powered by women. Middle Eastern remittances, tea industry, apparel industry, but at the bottom of the pyramid. So we need to get more women, more equipped to go up the career ladder, do more meaningful work, dignity of labor, all that has to be part of the whole equation.
Exactly. Right? And speaking of women in logistics, what's the percentage like?
Yeah, it's abysmally low. When we last checked, it was 3%. But of course, statistics are not really readily available. We are trying to do a survey on that to understand. But of course, what is within our control is our Chartered Institute space. We have actually changed the numbers, and the needle has moved significantly, and now in our institute the female population has now increased to 25%. So 1/4 of the population is now female. So that means the more you create awareness, the more you create opportunities, more you mentor and coach them and showing the way forward, more women will come forward. And that is what we are doing. So we have a very successful mentoring program where we go to universities, where we go to schools, we show them the opportunity, because everybody, the most parents always tell kids to become, a doctor or a traditional professions. They're all crowded, right? I mean, what if only 300,000 only can get into the universities? What are you going to do with the rest? So these are emerging professions where you really need, without logistics, it's an everyday need of people, yes. Right? So it's everywhere. And jobs are there. Especially economic activity, if it gets intensified, we can create more opportunities. So for the right candidate, there are a lot of jobs available. So creating awareness will help more and more to understand what's possible. And of course, there are challenges in certain environments where women are not welcome. But of course, the situation is changing. Now, I'll give you an example where in the port, after 6 o'clock, in the operational areas, women were not allowed to work, right? So that kind of a rule was there. But fortunately, in 2017, they trained 20 odd gantry crane operators, female gantry crane operators in the port. Of course, some of them dropped out, but now for the last so many years, since then we have 10 female gantry crane operators managing. Initially, they didn't have the ecosystem. They didn't have proper reps rooms, the facilities and all of that. Kudos to the Ports Authority for making that happen. And we are the first female gantry crane operators in the whole of South Asia. So we've led the way. So
made history.
And those women have really changed the dynamics in the port area. Now they are saying men are also really now properly dressed and their efficiencies have improved. Because I'm saying, it's not a competition as such, because both genders will bring different skill set to the table. It's not that one is superior than the other. So that is synergistic for any organization for that matter. So although you have a smaller number, by having another gender with different skill sets who understands the purchasing, habits of everyday needs of people, will really contribute to the organization.
It's always good to have many ideas.
Exactly.
And different point of views, because sometimes you're restricted to, as you said, inside the box and outside the box.
Exactly.
And then different people have different opinions on everything. So it's good to have a mixed gender appearance in every career, every profession, I'd say. So, I'm quite interested as to how you got into logistics.
By the way, I did mention this. I'm an engineer. That again, another profession where you hardly have any females. So in the university, out of 220, there were 22 females only, right? So, nobody pushed me there, but I was good in maths, so I moved into engineering from Moreto University. So, since that day for me, I didn't think that I'm a woman, therefore I should only do this, that. So it didn't occur to me at all. So since then, I joined a multinational company then, and right throughout for the last 20 odd years I was working there. And in the company, while I was there, company offered me to move to supply chain by chance. So I moved into supply chain by chance. And I never looked back. So I'm now calling myself a supply chain professional, right? So that's by chance I came in, and I got the opportunity to move up the career ladder. I was in the board. I was the first female supply chain director in the entire South Asia for that group of company in the region. So I was very happy because I never considered myself a woman, whether I should be part of this or not. It really, because performance matter, whether you're a man or a woman. If you're bold enough, you're willing to take up challenges, sky's the limit. That's why what I always say, yes, you have challenges in anything that you do, but you should be bold enough to face those challenges and create those into opportunities. And that's how I have converted those challenges into opportunities. And when I look back, I'm very happy. And now I'm giving back to the society so that more women can get in, young women can get into this industry, because this is such an interesting place and we can really contribute to everyday needs of people.
Exactly. And speaking of getting interested in a field where like not many women would actually get attracted to, I mean, it starts from home as well, isn't
Exactly.
it? Like if you don't have the support of your parents, and if most of the parents, as you mentioned, would prefer their kids getting into traditional job roles, but without their support, without their overview of how things are happening in the world, I don't think this is possible.
Exactly. So it's important that the media has to play a huge role here, because sometimes even in our school textbooks, we say like the mother cooks in the kitchen, father goes to the office. So cooking and washing is a life skill. It's not a gender-based skill, right? So I think new generation has realized that there's shared responsibilities, and some companies are not now giving only maternity leave, they're giving paternity leave, and they're calling it parental leave now. So it's a joint responsibility. So it's not something that this is only male responsibility, female responsibility. So parents, especially from our education system, from a very young level, kids will have to be taught these are life skills. And some companies like in Spain, they are in schools, they are teaching the boys to cook, clean. So at a young age you do that. And I see, I'm very happy in certain advertisements also now. You see shared responsibility, some, white goods industry, some companies that I'm part of also, they are in the pantry, the husband and wife, both trying to use the equipment and trying to do the in the pantry cooking, right? So those things are subtle messages you will get. Otherwise in teledramas and the media, in whatever that we portray, should be changed. There should be a complete overhaul, a 360-degree intervention from school level, from the parents' point of view, the career guidance in schools, and the media and the societal pressures. So sensitizing the society is a huge thing that we need to do. It cannot be done overnight, but all of us must get together and we have to have positive reinforcement. Unfortunately, the media always like headline news, very negative. We need to bring in positivity. Early morning you show somebody is killed or something like that, but can we show something positively? The positive reinforcement will really spur new ideas, new thinking. It can really help to boost the economy. And most of the Scandinavian countries, that's what they are doing. I mean, yes, okay, you need to know what's happening, but do you want to show it in the very early morning?
The first thing you see in the morning.
And pseudosciences, you have these all kinds of things early morning. You are allowing your life to be governed by somebody else, superpower. No, you are driving your own destiny, not anybody else, right? So you need to do that. You need to understand that. How do you inculcate that kind of a mindset, positive mindset? And that is something in this country really needs. I think media, therefore, has a huge role to play. And I must tell you that otherwise it's so disheartening.
It is, and I totally agree with you, because when you start your morning with negative news, and that's going to be there in the back of your mind unintentionally. I mean, It's just there, it's just registered, and then this becomes a topic. But instead, if you portray something positive, if you portray something about how somebody can improve their life. And I think, speaking about that the whole day would not matter because it's going to have a positive impact on you.
Exactly.
But what we need to do is like what we see, as a person who has been in the media for some time, when you go out to the society, what they want to hear is gossip.
Yes.
They want to know about another person's life. But something about them, something about improving them, it's not something which would catch their attention. And when you go on the road too, there'll be 10 to 15 people looking at another person's problem. Just in case there's a brawl on the road, there'll be so many people to watch. But if someone's being attacked, there'll be no one to go and save that person. That's what we see on a regular basis, which is very, very sad. So here, once again, for media is, again, when it comes to awarding systems, and there's a lot of campaigns happening. There's a lot of, methods of encouraging the media to do things of this nature. But we see a lot of awards going out to most watched television, most listened to, radio program. But that would be crimes. That would be gossip. So what are we trying to promote is another question.
No, I think, yes, I look at it from a different angle. Yes, true, it's a chicken and egg situation.
Exactly.
But if all of the media agencies get together and have one common approach, things can be changed because you can
make a difference.
You can do that. But if you feed in the right information collectively as a group, of course there's competition and you need to fight for the same cake, bigger piece of the cake. But if you can do that, you see examples in other countries who have positively done that. Of course, you need to put negative information, but in the right way.
At the right time.
And at this, sandwich it can do that, but start off in a positive note so that the whole day will not get impacted.
Exactly, because it's like a very vast topic and we can go on and on about it because it's about changing the overall mindset of people, and at the same time it's about, once again, income flowing in.
Exactly, yes.
So end of the day, that's what people look at. So that's what people fight for or target, which is sad because they could make a difference by making the target become a positive one too. But that's where we lack, I presume. So let's also touch on how the message you would like to give to anybody who wants to get into logistics. I would like to ask one final question from you. So this would be a message to the general public who would love to get into logistics, aspiring, people who would love to get into logistics.
Okay, so as I mentioned to you earlier also, this is we are actually servicing an everyday need of people, right? So it's a required thing. So isn't it an interesting thing to be part of?
It is.
Yes. So therefore, if you are somebody who really loves to solve problems and you have to be part of actions, every day is a different day, and you want to serve the community, and this is the place to be. But of course, you need to be open. You need to have a good understanding about what's happening around the world. And also you need to be open for new ideas, and you need to be creative. And you should also be able to work with others, because logistics is a vast area. You have many people who are working with. So if you like all these things, this is the most happening place. So one thing I must also say that, we always say, okay, we are limited with resources and all of that. It's all in your mind. If you put your mind into whatever that come your way, there are opportunities. In any crisis or any challenge, there are opportunities. Only for the people who see those things. So if you really want to reach the sky, this is a place to be, because this will never go away. So try to see what can be done rather than trying to, go and try to do things in the conventional space, the conventional professions. Because this is where you can really contribute to your everyday needs
and more
of people.
Opportunities.
More opportunities. And it's an evolving profession. But therefore, my appeal to all the parents is that don't try to push your children into conventional roles. There are a lot of opportunities in supply chain and logistics, and literally all the universities in the country now, even in the school curriculum, in the commerce stream now, you have this subject is being taught. So therefore, opportunities galore, right? So please encourage, and if you really want to get more ideas, please reach out to us. I mean, reach out to me, reach out to our institutes, reach out to these professionals in the industry. I'm sure you will be able to get more ideas on the opportunities available. So go out there and really join the industry, and that's where you can really contribute.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gayani De Alwis, for all the information and also for sharing a lot about logistics, which is really awesome to know, and it's very, very interesting because, we don't see a lot of women getting into professions which are not traditional, but it's a good awareness campaign, I'd say, on the coffee hour today. So thank you very much, Ms. Gayani De Alwis, management consultant and lecturer, and also someone who has been in the logistics field for a very, very long time and willing to help everybody understand what this is all about. Thank you so much once again for being a part of Coffee Hour. So with that, it's time for us to move back to some music, and also we got the news in brief coming up. Anupama, it's over to you.
Thank you, Sharifa. Pleasure to be with you.
The Coffee Hour. Welcome to Coffee with our morning host. We broadcast a host of programs like current topics, newspaper headlines, and music on Radio Sri Lanka. Tune in every weekday from 7 to 8 a.m.